Hey everybody, Victor here. So today I have some exploits to show you, specifically two for Call to Arms, and then I have a brief discussion on why I believe that Totemism is now the strongest religion you can have in the game, especially for multiplayer. But I'm going to go ahead and start with what I'm assuming y'all want to watch first, and that is the exploits, so let's begin. And welcome to the first exploit. As you can see, this is an Iron Man, so it will work for your game. Now, as you can tell, I am Castile, and I'm being called into a war by France against England. Now, this is a defensive war, but it will still work in any offensive war for you. Let's just say you don't want to be called into this war. Let's say you're also allied with England, or you simply don't want to be dealing with them at the time. Whether it's you don't want to help France in their wars in general, you're just using them as a meat shield, or you're at war with the Ottomans, and you just cannot be in that war right now. How do you not accept the call to arms, but also not pay these massive penalties to your country? 25 prestige, diplo reputation, as well as a loss of 20 trust with the main nation, making it so they will likely break their alliance with you, and 5 loss of trust with everyone that knows you exist. So now, just here, but eventually the entire planet. It's actually kind of simple. You just go here, exit to menu. I'm not kidding. Now, I'm going to have to wait for my game to reload, so I'm going to pause the recording and bring you guys back because this can take a bit. I'll see y'all then. And welcome back. So, while I'm waiting for this to load, and yes, this is the exact same save, for those of you that don't know how this is working, this is actually an old exploit that now suddenly works again, because of course it does. Basically what happens is this. When you save and exit a game, the AI will reload, come back in, and send you the diplomatic requests that they would have before. So they will send you alliance offers, royal marriage offers, military access, things like that that you denied before because you might change your mind. However, call to arms, they only send once. So as you can see, they are still at war with England. I am still their ally, but I'm not at war. I haven't lost the trust, but again, not at war. It's because they can only send you one call to arms. So they sent it to me, I didn't reply, exited the game, came back, and now it's just not there. And they won't send another one, because again, they only send one. So you are effectively in limbo, where you don't have to help your ally, but they don't see it as you betraying them. As far as they're concerned, you're just still pondering your decision, and they will think that all the way until the end of the war. And at the end of the war, you still don't lose the prestige, still don't lose the trust. They just assume you just never made up your mind. That's it. So now you don't have to help your allies at all, because you can simply do this in any Iron Man game. Unfortunately, it does not really work in multiplayer unless for some reason the entire group decides to exit the game, which actually has happened in one of my multiplayer games, because he thought he'll just accept it when he comes back. So be sure you don't do this in a multiplayer game, otherwise you may not be helping your AI friends. But let's go ahead and move on to the next exploit for Call to Arms, and see what's going on there. And welcome to Call to Arms exploit number 2. Here we are not in Iron Man, for the simple reason that it's easier for me to show you outside of Iron Man. It does still work in Iron Man and in multiplayer though, so by all means, if you can use it, go ahead and use it. Here we find Prussia. Like all Prussians, we want Danish land. And while we can call our allies in to this war, there is a bit of a snag. You see, Westphalia here, they have 29 favors, but we have no other need for those favors, so we can go ahead and use them for this. But Norway here, Norway we have enough favors to buy the air that we can suddenly get. Here's the problem. If we use those favors for the air, we can't call them into the war using favors. Now we could promise them land, but then we actually have to deliver, and that might mean we have to give them land that we want, making our ally a problem. And we don't want to do that. But let's say we actually have to get them in the war now. Because let's say Ottomans or Russia or England won't defend Denmark just right now. So you are kind of in a time clock here. How do you thread that needle? How do you get them in the war without promising land, but not using the favors that you need for the air? Let me show you how, actually. Simply go to Denmark and go to declare war. Now you can go ahead and call in Westphalia if you really want. And yeah, it will use the Westphalian favors, but we don't need them now anyway. But we need to call in Norway here, who has 98. If we go here, we call the arms, it says it'll cost 10 favors. Now we can promise land, but again, we don't want to do that. So let's not select that and call them in. Now if you look, for some reason, it didn't take the favors. Because again, no playtesting. So now you can get your allies to come into war with you, so long as you have 10 favors, and yes, you do need 10, otherwise you must promise land. But with this, you can simply declare the war, call them in right afterwards, and you have all your allies in without costing a single favor, saving those favors for troops, or money, or sailors if you really want them, or heirs. Meaning you can expand far faster because you're not waiting for favors to accumulate, and your allies are just perfect little meat shields for you. Lastly, there is a current issue going on where if you go to declare on somebody and their ally likes you too much, that might make it so they don't come into the war. They break the alliance with your enemy. However, if you call in your ally, they may not have that opinion with your ally, meaning they'll come in. With this, if you use this, their alliance is going to break, and then you can call your ally in on the same day, and it won't matter. The alliance is still broken, so they're not coming in, so you get your allies, and they don't get theirs. So, as I said, this works in Iron Man and multiplayer, so have fun with it. But let's go ahead and move on to talking about Totemism. And welcome to Texas, everybody. Texas is not an Iron Man game simply because this is simply how Totemism works at the current moment. So, it'll work for you multiplayer or anything else you happen to play. And this is simply an explanation on why Totemism is currently the strongest religion in the game for multiplayer, at least in my opinion. So, what makes Totemism so strong? Well, whenever your ruler dies as a Totemist country, you have these 10 slots with which you can pick to slot them in. These rulers are based off of whatever their trait was in life. So this was a babbling buffoon, this was calm, well-advised, and then finally Midas touched. However, this first guy is a negative. The reason why he's negative is because he was a Christian ruler when I started as Texas. However, every other ruler was Totemist, and tell me if you see a pattern with every other ruler. Yep, a Totemist is hard-coded to only have positive traits. There is a downside, however, and if you come here to Akoma, you will see they have a 50-year reigning, 63-year-old monarch who only has one trait. The reason why they do that is because you are guaranteed to have a positive trait, but you only get one, so that you do not have these happening. So you do not have the lost opportunity of waiting for a monarch to die, so you can then put them on the totem. However, these are all based on potentially having to wait between 20 and 60 years for your ruler to shuffle off the mortal coil, as Akoma is having to do. Because they're really strong, like minus 10% tech cost. However, here's the thing. You don't have to be a monarchy. You can be a republic. You see, the way republics work is if you don't re-elect your ruler, he can't handle that and he dies. He just mentally cannot take the strain of people not voting for him, so he dies. Which means you can add whatever his trait happens to be, which in this case is a monthly war exhaustion guy, to the totem for only 400 Diplo points. This means that you can get really powerful things on your totem really quickly simply by not re-electing people. And cycling through until you get what you happen to want as a republic. So I'm going to go ahead and give a brief list of really strong things you can get, just so you can understand why this is so strong. Plus 20% goods produced, minus 10% aggressive expansion, minus 20% advisor cost and construction cost, minus 10% tech cost and idea cost, plus 2 shock, fire, or maneuver pips for your generals as a base, minus 2% army tradition decay, making you have even stronger generals on a roll, but also having higher morale, plus 10% morale and discipline, so you'll just have really strong armies. And if you can't tell, this means less coalitions, a really strong economy, and on top of that, your ability to build up whatever buildings you happen to want, including your soldiers' households, but finally, a really strong military in and of itself. And mana points just flowing out your ears because you're spending less on tech or ideas, leaving you more to develop with. However, there's another one that's not on this list right now, and that is 0.5 yearly Republican tradition, which, if you get that, you will have about 1.8 yearly Republican tradition if you have high power projection. Why does this matter? Because that would give you about 100 to 120 years, not including events, of you constantly re-electing rulers over and over before you have any possibility of falling into despotism. So you'll be having even more monarch power flowing into your country without any real risk because you don't have that much to worry about, all because you went Totemist. Now, if this is not clear, you can do this as a former colony, you can do it as a native tribe, or you can do it as an exodus country where you move over and simply move your capital over, get sieged down by rebels, and as long as they have a majority of your development, whether New World or Old World, you can flip over. So let me just point out how broken this can be by looking at France, who I flipped Totemist. See, they have Elan with 20 morale and minus 10% tech cost. With Totemist, that'll be plus 30% morale, plus 10% discipline, minus 20% tech cost, and plus 30% national tax if you actually decide to go that way, but you have a lot of incredibly powerful things, including the fact that you simply do not have the disaster of the French Wars of Religion. You can simply ignore it, because you are not Christian, so it does not matter to you if Protestantism is forming or expanding in your country. It doesn't matter to you. So all of a sudden, you have incredibly strong ideas with an incredibly strong religion that you can use to pummel your enemies over and over again, because unlike Prussia, you could go Totemist, which means you'll be able to largely keep up with them, as France, as Spain, as Great Britain, or anybody else that happens to move over, including the Netherlands. So I hope this makes your games in multiplayer just a little bit more spicy, because now you can keep up with Orthodox Russia without any real difficulty, because they may have development cost, you have everything else going for you. But thank you all for watching. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. I will be doing as much of it as I can. However, I'm also doing opening move guides for countries, so if you like that kind of content, also subscribe. I'll be doing a lot of those too. If you have a different kind of content that you want to see, or if you want to see a very specific country in those opening move guides, leave a comment below. I'd be more than happy to make it. But thank you all for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day.